Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
C'est moi. April 11, it is 2023, a gorgeous spring day here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And it's a Tuesday, so Susan should be on the line. Hi.
Hi, here I am.
Good. I haven't talked to you in so long.
I know. I was thinking about that. Did you have like a nice Passover and stuff?
No, I didn't. It's the first time I never really made it to a Seder. Yeah. So it was a combination of dental, surgical stuff, and then a stomach bug.
Oh, no.
So I just generally out. So it's okay. It's a done deal. And okay. You're in Green Bay still?
I am leaving directly after. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. So sorry, guys. That's just our. We'll stop there. I know your kids came up though, so we're going to go on just a little bit. Your kids came up for
we
Passover?
did. We had a lovely Passover, and
good.
And Mother got to spend some time with this set of great grandchildren, so it was really nice. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. All right. That's it. Okay. Well, Sue, since last we spoke, I mean, an awful lot has happened.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've just been riveted to Tennessee for most of it.
Well, I'm going to send you something that my son sent me today. It is a piece from a Nashville television station that was done before they evicted these two guys, and it was the best television journalism I have seen in a million years on the local level, if ever. And there's I looked up the station. I thought, what kind of a station is this? That they literally did a 6-minute piece showing the corruption in that House of Representatives. Showing, just flat out showing it. And it is mind-boggling. Anyone who watches it would think, I mean, there's no way that it is anything but a total authoritarian chamber where the votes are simply a foregone conclusion, even if a vote is clearly, vocal and the nays have it, the chairman will go, ayes have it, passed, gone. And you cannot, the Democrats literally cannot get their attention, have any. So it's the backstory of the frustration and rage that these people felt. I have never seen anything like it. It was the greatest reporting I have ever seen. So I looked it up, and I thought, who owns this station? It's owned by Scripps Howard, and it is a CBS affiliate, and mind-blowingly good journalism. I'm following the guy now who did the report. I mean, just mind-blowingly good.
Well, you ought to send him a note.
I don't think he needs one. He looks like he has 100 million supporters on Twitter, and he's. I think he even showed up on. I think Colbert had him on once. He's a local reporter who's won major awards, and there is a reason for it. He's mind-blowingly good. I've just never. I watched this morning, and I'm still just stunned by it.
Well, I was equally, I told Mother we would eat at a certain time last night, and instead I was just watching them, Joshua Jones and Justin Jones and his group walking up the stairs singing This Little Light of Mine. And anybody that could have watched that all the way through and not had tears in their eyes as they're watching a very necessary replay of how we saw things and lived through things in the 60s. And then to see him take the floor and thank that group of evil people, not for ejecting him, but for creating a movement.
Well,
and that they did it better than he ever could have done. Yeah.
Well, it has yet to be seen. This is one of those times where if Democrats get their act together, anti-gun people, and that's not just Democrats, that's across the board. If Americans get themselves together, this is a potentially galvanizing moment. But you see that there is no democratic government in that state. There's none.
Nope.
There is none. So how do you, the only way you can possibly get anywhere is through, obviously, total civil disobedience. You can't, including on the floor of the House, the absolute bald corruption of this body. And I'm sure it's not the only one that operates like this, that has a super majority.
No, welcome to Wisconsin. Welcome to Missouri. Welcome, there's many states like this.
But I've never seen anybody unmask them like this report. If anybody follows me on Twitter, I put it up today. Maybe I'll try to get it onto our Facebook page too. This is what television reporting should be. It is so necessary. And it's so absent. I put it up and I got a reply from some guy who, I don't know, he's got a gazillion million followers and he's some kind of big shot from Massachusetts or something. He saw it. And I said, I had added, this is the kind of local journalism you don't see anywhere, and certainly not here in Pittsburgh. And he said, I travel all the time. You don't see it anywhere. But there's that one station.
Yeah. And a guy that didn't want to go elsewhere, that stayed there.
Yes. And when he started talking,
that's the second miracle. He's that talented, and two, he chose to stay.
Yeah, he chose to stay. He's an older guy. He's got a funny voice that might have gotten in his way. And at first, I thought, gosh, how did he get? Before I saw he started talking, I thought, he has a strange way of pronouncing some things, and boy, blown away. And since I started following him, that is just one report in a number of reports this guy has done. But what is it? So that's a Nashville audience seeing that, but a huge rural area beyond it. And they're being informed of the total corruption of their state government.
Well, but here's the problem. There's a lot of people. No, but Americans will be horrified, but there's a large group of people that think, wow, that's the way to get things done.
Well, yeah, it is. Autocracy is. You don't have to bother.
No, but I'm just saying, everybody that, yes, it's getting the word out, but here's the depressing problem. With at least 30 to 35% of the people, they're all for that. As long as they are shoving through what they want.
It's really, wow.
But yes, it is wonderful to shine a national light on the festering boil that is the Tennessee legislature.
And others, yes. Do you think, I was talking yesterday, I was so astonished at the arrogance that they showed in knowing they were being watched and still doing what they did, kicking out the two young black boys and keeping the
blaming it on the megaphones.
And blaming it on the megaphone. It just
and when asked whether they'd be allowed back in, they said, "Well, as long as they behave."
God, when you realize the control that was exhibited by those three, I mean, you, me, we would have lost our crap.
No, absolutely. I found all three of those people and their speeches so moving and each in their own very distinctive styles. Jones with his, just very logical and eloquent, serious oration, and then Pearson with his preaching, and that is just so well done. And I'm sorry, at 28 years old, yes, the poise, the restraint, and the eloquence with which those two and the woman who is standing there with them, whose name I don't know. But I'm proud of the country that did nurture those people, and I'm wondering, how do you want to stop that? Why is it your goal to break an education system, to break a culture that produced that?
It's because it's the way that they can have power, because they know
the only way they can succeed is not by excellence.
They're like slave owners needing to keep the slaves under control, and you do that through ignorance, sheer brutality, punishment, whatever, and you fear them, but you can't. If you fear that the slaves will say, "Wait a minute, there's
more of us than you."
That's right, and it's just playing out again. There's this brilliant piece written by a black woman that I read today, and I think it's too long to share, but she talked about the fact that if you want to know where our future is, you've got to keep your eye on the South. You have got to watch these people, because these are the people that are bound and determined would again get it right this time and take control. It's brilliantly done. Barbara sent me something. The reporter, the TV reporter, is a guy named Phil Williams, and she sent me a quote from a prominent Nashville political strategist. To gauge Phil's impact, consider this quote. Okay. If the press calls, call your PR person. If Phil Williams calls, call your lawyer, because you're in trouble. Yeah. Incredible. But you see, they aren't really in trouble, because they gerrymandered everything.
Right. They're bulletproof.
They have rigged. It's so fascinating.
They're basically just sitting there going, yeah, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, what are you going to do about it? We always talked about Trump, when he would say things, was really just projecting what when he said, the election's rigged, the system's rigged. And, you think, yeah, because you guys rigged it. You're always pointing your finger at the people who didn't do it and telling us what you have done. It's just amazing. Can we get to, oh God. Hey, I wonder what mass shooting we're going to have today.
Oh, we just had 146, and it's not even, past tax day in April.
Oh, is that all? 146?
Only 146 mass shootings so far in 2023. Yeah.
I saw, just sort of getting it. So gun control, abortion. I saw Eric Idle, the
the guy from Monty Python.
Eric Idle was thinking of these poor the judge in Texas and the abortion pill ruling, and how he talked about. He never says fetus. He always says unborn human. The unborn human this, the unborn human that, and it has to be protected. And so Eric Idle realized, geez, it has to be protected. Well, this is Texas. And he said, got the answer. We got to arm fetuses.
Stick little AK-47s up there.
Right. So they can protect themselves. Right. Arm the fetuses. Okay.
Well, no, we're just going to, we've got the solutions. We're going to, it brings you to the little 6-year-old who's, clearly got some huge issues, and they're going to they've indicted the mother, the 25.
Lock her up so he won't have a parent.
Right. So he won't have a parent. And now that, frankly, there's a case for her, but I haven't heard the actual argument. It wasn't about the gun. It was about she's supposed to be with her kid at school, and she wasn't. And and I mean, to me, there's the culpability, and then I do think they should be indicting some people. I do think they should be indicting the vice principal that refused to do anything. There have to start to be consequences against people.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we got to get the guns have got to get under control.
Oh yeah, you got to. I've been saying for the last 10 years, you got to start confiscating them. It's there's no way out there now except that you just start confiscating them. And I would like to.
Susan, you mentioned a 6-year-old. So actually, a 6-year-old can carry a gun in public.
Oh yeah, that's legal
in Missouri. Yeah. No, in the state of Missouri.
And then the good news is they're too young to have criminal intent, so you could just have your 6-year-old go around and murder anyone you didn't like.
That's right. And in Texas, an 18-year-old can buy 2 AR-15s and 1,600 bullets in the span of 2 days. Oh, I gotta wait 2 days.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Lynn, there is some good news, and that's that they're apparently the most popular handgun is going off without the trigger being pulled and has accidentally shot 80 of its owners. So in this case, it is the gun. It's the gun. It's the most popular gun out there, and it's going to shoot you in the ass when you strap it on. So, okay.
All right.
That's a report out today.
All right. Let me tell you. Can we get to the one subject I didn't get to yesterday? There was so much to cover. Was let's leave the stench of corruption of Republican supermajority state legislatures, and let's go to the stench of corruption at the United States Supreme Court.
Oh, holy hell.
Unbelievable.
We should talk about Abe Fortas.
Well, we are going to talk about Abe Fortas because I started wondering. I remembered Abe Fortas, who resigned from the
was forced to resign.
He was about to be impeached, so he got the hell out of Dodge in 1966. And if you look at the reasons why, it is nothing compared to Clarence Thomas. And at the time, because there was some impression of, unethical dealing, there were calls for his resignation, and they came from Democrats. He'd been appointed by Lyndon Johnson. He was a liberal Democrat, and Democrats put the ethics and the sense of integrity of the Supreme Court over party. And you imagine
his biggest supporter turned on him and called for his.
That's right, and not one Republican has said boo.
Yeah, I mean, where is the august John Danforth when he's supposed to say something? He's the guy that heartily recommended him to us.
He's already expressed his regret, I believe.
No, that's for Josh Hawley. That was
he also gave us Josh Hawley?
Yeah.
This Danforth, who was supposed to be a good Republican?
That was his handpicked. Yeah.
Yeah, well, okay.
He later, that's the one he was sorry for. He hasn't said boo about Clarence. And if he stood up and said, I made a terrible mistake, the man should resign, that would carry great weight.
I don't think so. Not anymore. I don't agree. He's a rhino. He's the corruption of Clarence Thomas and his wife. I mean, let us remember, he should have resigned after it was known that his wife aided and abetted the friggin' insurrection on January 6th.
Or at the very least recused himself from anything that he was going to hear.
And we now know also that she was in the employ of this god-awful Harlan Crow, who paid her every year for something which is unclear. And Thomas never disclosed his wife's income. I think there's a tax evasion charge here. Is there not?
Well, if it's income, if it's anything more than this year $17,000, it can't be a gift. So
he paid her $120,000.
That's income.
And
that's income.
Here, Thomas failed to disclose his wife's income. Are they filing jointly? That's what I don't understand. I mean, this is mind blowing.
Well, and even when he gives his statement and he says, "This is, it didn't occur to me. This is just an old friend. It's an old friend that he met 6 years after he was sitting on the court.
Right.
So
as
right,
yes."
He was befriended. I think it was Colbert that said, Colbert says, and how do you meet? Well, he was bribing me.
Yeah, I met him. He was offering me a bribe. Yeah, that's how they became fast friends. Year after year, he treated the Thomases to any, bit of, and I remember being astonished years and years and years ago, where I read, because he put it out there, that Clarence Thomas and his wife, Ginny, loved nothing more when they went on vacation than to go in an RV and just drive around the country and park in Walmart parking lot.
Yeah, I do remember that.
And get to know the people. That's what he said. And I remember being blown away by that. What? Wow, that doesn't seem bad. And
it's a lie.
Oh, he's got a supposed RV. Have you seen it? It looks like a super yacht.
Well, of course. Harlan probably bought it for him.
Oh, my God. So he says that right, and that he's a justice of the Supreme Court, and he says, I asked, some judicial authorities whether this was okay to be taking these trips with Harlan, and they all said, well, what is it called? It was personal
relationships,
personal hospitality. If it's personal hospitality, and he doesn't have, Thomas also says he has no cases before the court. He's beyond having cases. He is funding things where there's
He's funding movements to change policy.
There are 3 and 4 cases that Harlan is concerned about, and his buddies. And so, oh God, the corruption. And we have to tolerate this son of a bitch being on the court. My guess is that the other justices are just beyond furious, right?
Well, they should be.
Beyond furious. But you don't think that they would actually get themselves together and do what happened to Fortis and say, hey, guy, listen, you're just hurting the institution. You really got to go. Right. They would never.
No,
but if our body politic was as uncorrupted as it was in 1966 or whenever that was with Fortis, then you would have Republicans calling for Thomas to resign, and he would truly be worried about being impeached. But of course, that ain't going to happen. And Roberts, what a weakling he turns out to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's really it's appalling. We are living in what was a once great country, and that has become a banana republic.
It's just
with one awful guy trying to out Yahoo the next. They just banned Anne Frank down in Florida.
Yeah, I saw Anne Frank. Well, it's a graphic thing of her, but yeah, right, sure.
It's a cartoon of the diary. What's it got in it that the diary doesn't have in it? Illustrations, more illustrations.
So, and then, the more you find out about this Harlan character, what do you make of the fact that he has an entire statue, a garden of statues of the worst humans that ever lived on Earth?
And that he collects Nazi stuff and has 2 signed books by Hitler and lots of his personal stuff. Yeah.
Signed copy. He has Nazi napkins he's got a lot of things with, the swastikas on them. And he also has, I believe, 2 of Hitler's paintings.
Oh, right.
And he has them displayed alongside some of his other artwork. So you have a Norman Rockwell here, we have an Adolf Hitler, and apparently even has a George W. Bush next to a Rockwell, next to one by Hitler. That's what somebody who was actually at his house said. A George W. next to Rockwell, next to Hitler.
Poor Rockwell.
And the person said it was startling. And then you see the dictator sculptures in the backyard. I couldn't get over it. This is his fine friend. Clarence Thomas's fine friend. He sounds like the kind of guy who would befriend a black man. I'm sure he's got a lot of other black friends, don't you think?
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. God,
it's so handy to have one around.
And then I was really upset to see this because I don't know what to make of it. Because here's a guy I've always respected, and I'm wondering if he's getting a little dementia or something. The Dalai Lama.
Oh, that thing. Oh, that's just appalling.
Well, in case anybody didn't hear it,
or see it.
Dalai Lama, I didn't see it. I don't want to see it. The Dalai Lama was speaking to some people, and he, a little boy at the event stands up and says, "Can I hug you?" And Dalai Lama motions him forward and points to his cheek, and the kid kisses his cheek. And then the Dalai Lama points to his lips and says, "I think finally here also." He pulls the boy's chin and kisses him on the mouth to applause from the audience. And then the Dalai Lama pokes his tongue out and says, "And suck my tongue." How is that even possible? How is that even possible?
I have no idea. Well, it's very possible. We know that.
Oh, God, no. He's always presented himself as, God, what? He's 87. Maybe there's something a little off. I don't know. And suck my tongue? He says in front of 1 million witnesses? What?
Well, he apologized.
I don't know why. His office said he had meant it in a lighthearted way. There's no way you say "suck my tongue" to a little boy. Lighthearted. It's like whenever a Republican says something like so vile, they always say, "Oh, it was a joke."
They like it when you grab them by the pussy, for example.
That's right. It was a joke. But for some reason, this Dalai Lama thing really hit me hard. I can't take it anymore. I can't, the Supreme Court, okay, I'm aware. The Dalai Lama sucked my tongue?
I'm constantly afraid that you're going to say something else instead of...
Well, what?
Anyway, it's appalling. It's the thing number 422 of the week that's appalling.
Okay, let's take.
And then there's those Pentagon leaks.
Well, I want to.
I think there's some Trump guy. There's some Trump appointee.
Well, you don't know. There's some speculation that it's Russian involvement because the government, State Department or the CIA or somebody says one of the things that's bizarre is that the numbers have been changed in some of the. So one of the leaked documents is about casualties that the Russians have suffered, in Ukraine. And that number has been reduced substantially. So, some people were fiddling with this stuff before it came out. So it could be, again, it could be Russian or somebody. Who the hell knows? When nothing is secure anymore, obviously. Nothing. And then we find out that Egypt was going to be surreptitiously sending what?
Fighter bombers.
Fighter jets to Putin. Right. Let's take a break.
Okay.
Oh, bet. See if you remember this name, Susan. Mimi Sheraton.
Oh, of course. She's the food critic for the New York Times.
She was, yeah. Mm-hmm. She was the first woman to do it for them. And she was, by all indications, the most intrepid food critic ever. For one thing, she was the first one who started wearing disguises when she went out to eat, because she realized that if a restaurant recognized the food critic, she was not going to get a normal experience. And she also, according to the Times, what she had to do, you have to, before you do a review, visit a restaurant 3 times before you can do a review.
Right.
And she didn't think that was enough. So she would go 6 to 8 times at the same restaurant. Now, here's what I want to know. I looked at her picture. She's not obese. How do you not, if your job is to eat and try this, try that, eat well. And they said she would sometimes eat as many as 4 meals a day. All of them, doing her due diligence.
Well, she must not have eaten. She must have taken a lot of leftovers home.
Incredible. And
but she wrote great reviews.
Yeah. She said the longer I reviewed restaurants, the more I became convinced that the unknown customer has a completely different experience from either a valued patron or somebody like me, a recognized food critic.
Oh, absolutely.
For all practical purposes, they might as well be in different restaurants. Listen to the here's a journalist. I mean, she's clearly, so much. This is the opposite of somebody like Clarence Thomas. This is somebody who's a professional, who takes her job seriously and doesn't cut any corners. For an article she was doing on deli sandwiches, she collected 104 corned beef and pastrami samples in one day to evaluate the meat itself. My God!
Yeah, well,
it wasn't a matter of just eating something and saying, "Oh, wow, that was good."
No, she really knew what she was talking about. I mean, she wonder what kind of a cook she was herself, but I guess you can just be a professional eater.
Yeah. I think that's what a lot of us would like to be, a professional eater. She figured in 2013, she tried to calculate how many restaurant meals she had eaten professionally. And by the way, in 49 countries. And she came up, this is in 2013, with 21,170 meals. Mimi Sheraton, man, she ate well. And she lived long. She was 97 years old. Oh, my God.
Well, eating all that rich food certainly didn't,
it didn't harm her a bit.
So much for cholesterol, yeah.
Okay, can we take one more?
Sure.
Okay. That would be, maybe some people remember him, but I don't. Because he was a frequent guest on Johnny Carson's show. So why can't I find it? His name was Harry Lorraine.
No, I don't recognize him.
I don't remember him either. Harry Lorraine. And so, I'll just give you some backstory because it's fascinating. He was a poor little kid, grew up really poor with an abusive father. And he says his parents were professional poor people. And he struggled academically, and it turns out he was dyslexic. He couldn't make head nor tails out of anything, and he quit altogether after 1 year of high school. So that was the end of his education.
Right.
Never got a high school degree. And he says, I was a Lower East Side D's, Dem and Does kid with no money, no prospects, no education, no nothing. But one of the things he had always done as a kid was he had learned to be a magician. And so he ended up starting, on street corners and stuff, doing magic tricks. And he would do these tricks, and he started to learn how to do a lot of patter with them, because if you're a good magician, you do. Anyway, I'm going to cut to the chase. Remember the show I've Got a Secret?
Yeah.
Gary Moore was the host.
Gus Meyerson was one of the... frequently one of the people, and who was the editor? Oh God,
Bennett Cerf.
Bennett Cerf, right?
And Kitty Carlisle.
You're right. Every once in a while, Betty White.
Yeah. Anybody think of anybody else? Anyway, it was a fun show because they were always the people were smart. Those that crew was a smart crew,
right?
So it was clever, and he was one of the guests who, they were going to have to guess what he did for a living. And before the show, while Gary Moore was introducing members of the panel, he was in the studio audience, Harry Lorraine, and he was going up to people in the audience and saying, "What's your name?" And he did that to, I guess, about 50 people. And then he gets introduced, and he comes running in. And Gary Moore asked the audience, which of you had spoken to Mr. Lorraine? Would you please stand? And it says, it says hundreds of people stood up. And then he began pointing at each of these people and saying
their name, right?
Mr. Stinson, Miss Graff, Miss Finkelstein, if I can see correctly. Yeah, that's the Harpin family. Dorothy, Esther, Mrs. Pollock. I think that's Mrs. Sternover. He knew all their names. And all he had done is, what's your name? 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 So he became known as a master of memory.
Which, makes total sense if you've got a learning disability you have to remember everything you see and hear to make up for your inability to read it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just an interesting, look at how the brain compensates.
But you know what he could do? He could give him like a small town telephone book. I don't know how many pages that would be, but maybe
he could read it and memorize it.
He would literally look at it, page, and rattle it off. I mean, that's like,
That's a photographic memory, because it's not about reading.
And he said he could absolutely tell you what was written on any page of a given issue of, Time magazine or Life magazine. And he was considered one of the foremost magicians in the country. He could memorize the names of over 1,000 people in a single outing. And he's the one he started a memory school. He's the one who championed the memory technique that I tried to use, because I have a horrible memory for names. And it didn't work at all for me. Even though he insisted your memory is a muscle that can be trained. But man, I made no sense to me. I have my favorite story about my memory class. I took it maybe about 2 years after I came to Pittsburgh, because I was meeting so many people and I was just screwing things up all the time, not remembering names.
I do. Yeah.
And I heard that there was this class at night downtown. So off I went dutifully, and I couldn't do it. It made no sense to me. And after I dropped out after maybe about 5-6 classes, and then maybe, I don't know, a year later, or maybe even 2 days later, I don't know, I went to a movie at the Squirrel Hill Theater, which doesn't exist anymore. And it was very crowded, and I was trying to get to a seat, and I was having to, clamber over all these miserable humans who were trying to get out of my way. And as I got, straddled one guy, he looks up at me and he says, "Lynn, hi." And I said, "Hi," fake hi. And he said, "You don't remember me, do you?" And I said, I'm sorry. I said, I don't remember you. He said, "Well, I was in your memory class."
I knew this is where this was going. I was worried it was the guy that taught the class.
No, there were no more than 6 people in that class. It was a tiny bunch of us. Most of them were salespeople, and right. I was in your memory class. Well, obviously we had a good laugh over that. Oh, God. Barbara writes, "I stopped in at the local Dollar General for milk and some Tropicana OJ. And there's a self-checkout now that wouldn't work for me. The salesperson came, one of the Dollar General business model is to have almost no employees. None. The salesperson came to help me and apologized for inconvenience, but said they just can't keep people. And she was stocking shelves. Right. She was trying to do 5 people's jobs.
Right.
And always lots of boxes in the aisles, right, waiting to go out onto the shelves. I asked someone later, what did they pay the local at the local Dollar General, and was told $8.25 is the wage.
That's minimum wage?
I think it's $1 more. I think Pennsylvania it's $7.25.
Oh my goodness!
Do you believe that?
No.
So she checked on it. It turns out Dollar General paid its CEO from 2015 to 21. So that's a 6 year span.
Mm-hmm.
He got $183 million.
Oh yeah, well that's why.
Well, it's interesting that you bring up Dollar General, because I've been sitting on an article for a long time, and the Department of Labor, the U.S. Department of Labor, has been fining Dollar General left, right, and center so often. It has more than 111 instances of workplace safety violation. They have paid over $15.5 million in penalties, but obviously they're quite willing to keep paying those penalties rather than paying their employees.
Rather than pay their employees, it's cheaper.
That's right. The violations are exactly what, it's interesting, is exactly what Barbara's saying. Issues such as obstructed fire exits and boxes of merchandise cluttering the aisles or stacked precariously high. Federal inspectors have gone into a store to demand that a hazard be fixed, only to find in a follow-up visit that the problem was still there. They don't care at all. And the fines represent a minuscule fraction.
So they got to start. They got to start shuttering the stores. Just lock them.
Well, I don't think they have the authority to do that.
Well, if they shut down buildings all the time for being unsafe.
OSHA is now and Dollar General are now in the early stages of a settlement discussion. Why not do what Susan says? Just
clean up your act, or we shut you down because you were in violation of the rules. And if you can't operate your business according to the rules, then we stop you from operating your business. How hard is that?
You know what? I just remembered something I wanted to share that takes us back to the shooting stuff. I happened to be watching MSNBC, and Michael Steele was on. I have a crush on him.
Yeah.
Really serious crush.
That's back when Republicans were good.
Oh, God, is he a good man? Oh, my God. Anyway, I wish I'd recorded it. He said something so mind-blowingly eloquent. You could tell he's up to here, like we all are with us. And he said, look, nothing is going to happen. He was talking about, okay, so today's mass shooting, the ones at the bank, and then the kids, and then the kids, and the kids, and the kids, and the this, and you can't go anywhere in this country without the assumption that you might not get back home. Okay. And we're not going to do it, but he's talking mostly about the kids. The fact that this country cannot rouse itself to save its own children.
Right.
And he said, you know, Emmett Till's mother did something that so astonished people. It had such an impact, and it helped literally fire up the United States Civil Rights Movement. And what she did, as you well know, is she gave her son an open casket funeral because she said, I want them to see what they did to my boy. So pictures of his pulverized face made the rounds, even in those days, were in newspapers. People were appalled. And what Michael Steele said, you know, we figured out how to do these mass shootings. Media have, politicians have, we all have. We've sanitized them. None of us have to live with the reality of what these guns are doing to the children. Oh, we know they're dead. And he was calling for some parent to do what Emmett Till's mother did and show what we are allowing. And my understanding is that in Uvalde, and I saw other places, there was no way to identify those children. They
needed DNA. They were blown to smithereens.
They were mush. Now, why are we somehow protected from reality? Because it's unseemly. You can't do that. I think he's absolutely right.
Right. I mean, if they can make women, watch movies about abortions before they're entitled to have one, back in the good old days when you could get one, then why can't, before you buy a gun, you watch, you look at reels and reels and reels? That's what your gun is for.
No, I think if a parent, and it would be a very difficult thing for a parent to do, but I think it would be courageous, impactful. And he even went on to say that Democrats need to get tough and perhaps use something like this. Here's what the Republicans say they can do nothing about. Here's what they flat out tell you now. We can't do anything about it. Here is what we're talking about. What do we see? Oh, we see pictures of kids, coming out with their hands up. We see parents hugging their children who managed to survive. We see teddy bears and flowers. We hear, thoughts and prayers and all the usual shit. We know the drill. We are never subjected to the reality of a picture of the scene. Stop and think about it. You've never seen it. Why should we be protected?
Why should we?
Our children aren't. Why should we? Our sensibilities. Why should we be protected? And he was so eloquent.
Yeah, he was.
He had such passion, such what he was saying. And everybody else who was on the panel they had going was dumbstruck. And nobody really said, yeah, nobody did. So I think if we don't know how to get ourselves unstuck, that it might well require something like that. Although you can say, who would air it? Internet now. We have an internet now, so it can be gotten out there, even if newspapers will say, well, we can't. And CBS and NBC will say, we can't. We have an internet. You want to see the children of Uvalde? Take a look. And what did we do?
Well, yeah, we did. We threw 2 Tennessee legislators out for trying to point out that we were doing nothing.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say that I think he's right, and I think we got to stop being coddled. If kids can be turned into mush in their classrooms, then I think we can look. I think it's really important to remember that the same people that are turning our children into mush are insisting that women not kill human beings. Yeah, human beings in utero. Yeah. Of course.
So, this is not about
forcing children to have children.
And forcing children to have children. I mean, one begins to think it's to provide ammo and to provide decoys.
Oh, my God.
I mean, what are we going to mow down if not your kids? Get us some more.
And then you see, like, the governor of, I forget which one of these states are all blurring in my head now.
I think it's the one at the bank.
Well, no, the one at the bank, that's a Democrat.
Right.
For some reason, elected a Democratic governor in a state that is represented by all Republicans, but I think one, I don't know. It's a totally red state that for some reason elected this guy. So he knew all of the victims, and one was one of his dearest friends. And the killing at the school in Tennessee one of the victims was a dear friend of the governor's wife. And she was going to have dinner with them that night. Does anything get through to that son of a bitch? I'm sorry. Okay, that's it. I guess that's that's it.
That's the final word, as it were.
Yeah, as it were. All righty, Suze. We got to talk. And
okay.
Travels,
okay, thank you.
And I'll check in on Mom.
Okay, please do. Okay. Bye.
Okay, see ya. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, guys, tomorrow we'll have at some point during the show, we're going to have a guest. She's been a guest before. She's wonderful. She's an amazing woman. She's an actor, a playwright, and a prison reform and school reform. And she goes into prisons all over the country. She goes into schools. And we need about 100 million more of her, and things would be different. So she'll be stopping by probably in the last half hour, or maybe the first. What do I know? Anyway, Susan Stein will be my guest tomorrow. She's remarkable. She's somebody I had on my show years and years ago, and was so blown away by her that I didn't lose touch, and we became friends. She lives in New York City, but astonishing woman. So hope you'll be able to join us tomorrow. Okay? Thank you very much. And enjoy this glorious day, if you can.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.